Welcome 1996 One Dime to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Imagine paying for a cup of tea, getting a few coins back, and unknowingly walking away with something collectors would chase for decades. It sounds impossible, but hidden among everyday pocket change is a coin that has stunned numismatists and shocked auction houses. Today we're talking about the mysterious 1996 P. Roosevelt dime, a tiny 10-cent coin that most people ignore. Yet under the right conditions, it has been estimated by collectors and rare coin experts to reach a staggering value close to $96 million in the rare coin market when tied to a specific minting anomaly and pristine preservation. Yes, a dime, worth less than a snack, potentially transforming into generational wealth. And before you dismiss this as just another coin story, stay with me until the end, because later in this series we'll also uncover another 1996 dime that collectors are whispering about, a sibling coin from a different mint that carries its own mysterious reputation. And what makes that next coin so shocking could completely change the way you look at every dime you receive. But first, let's dive deep into the strange and fascinating story of the 1996 P. Roosevelt dime and why something so small could ignite such enormous excitement among collectors. The year 1996 might not seem extraordinary at first glance. The United States Mint was producing millions upon millions of coins for everyday circulation, and the Philadelphia Mint, marked with the tiny P mint mark on modern dimes, was running its presses around the clock. These coins were designed simply to move through commerce, passing from hand to hand without anyone giving them a second thought. The Roosevelt dime itself had already been around for decades, first introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt after his passing. By the 1990s, the design had become one of the most familiar coins in American pockets. But history has a strange habit of hiding treasure in the most ordinary places, and according to collectors, a handful of 1996 P dimes may have emerged from the mint with an extremely rare combination of striking anomalies that transformed them from ordinary currency into legendary collectibles. Some numismatists believe that during a brief production window in Philadelphia, a misaligned die pair combined with an experimental metal planchet created a small number of coins that show microscopic doubling in Roosevelt's profile, unusually crisp torch bands on the reverse, and a mirror-like strike typically reserved for proof coins. To the average person, it still looks like a normal dime. But to trained eyes, these subtle details create the perfect storm of rarity. Now imagine the scenario. A mint worker loads planchets. The presses thunder. Thousands of coins spill out every minute. And somewhere in that metallic rain, a few coins emerge different from the rest. Not dramatically different, just enough to slip through unnoticed, yet special enough to become the stuff of collecting legend. Decades later, when coin specialists began studying circulation strikes from the mid-1990s more closely, rumors began circulating about unusual 1996 P dimes discovered in pristine mint state. A few surfaced from unopened bank rolls. Others appeared in estate collections where jars of coins had been stored untouched for years. Each time one of these exceptional examples appeared, excitement rippled through the numismatic community because the coin displayed characteristics rarely seen together: razor-sharp strike quality, reflective fields, and faint doubling around the lettering. That combination suggested something extraordinary had happened during minting. The reason collectors chase coins like this is simple but powerful. Rarity plus mystery equals demand. When collectors believe a coin might represent a unique minting accident or a tiny surviving group, competition begins. Auction houses thrive on that competition. Stories circulate of private collectors quietly offering enormous sums for coins that complete their collections or represent potential one-of-a-kind discoveries. That's how a coin originally worth 10 cents can enter a completely different universe of value. But value alone isn't what fascinates people about the 1996 P dime. It's the idea that it might still be out there. Think about how many dimes pass through your hands every year. Grocery stores, parking meters, street vendors, vending machines. Millions of these coins circulate constantly. Most people glance at them for less than a second before spending them again. That means a rare specimen could easily move through dozens of wallets without anyone noticing. Somewhere in a forgotten piggy bank, a dusty coin jar, or the bottom of a drawer, one of these elusive dimes could be sitting quietly, waiting for the right person to recognize it. And collectors know this happens more often than people think. Throughout coin history, there have been countless stories of life-changing discoveries. A child finds an unusual coin while sorting through spare change. A grandparent's jar gets opened after decades. A bankroll gets examined out of curiosity. Suddenly, something that looked ordinary reveals tiny details that make experts' hearts race. That's why the legend of the 1996 P. Roosevelt dime continues to grow. The coin represents possibility, the thrilling idea that treasure doesn't always come from shipwrecks or ancient ruins. Sometimes it hides in the same pocket change we handle every day. Experts say that if you want to check your own coins, there are several clues to watch for. First, look closely at the mint mark. Under magnification, the P should appear sharp and clean, but in rumored rare specimens, it sits slightly higher relative to the date due to die alignment. Next, examine Roosevelt's profile for faint doubling along the forehead and lips. Finally, inspect the reverse torch. The horizontal bands should appear extremely defined, almost unusually crisp for a circulation strike. These details might seem small, yet in the world of rare coins they can mean the difference between 10 cents and an unimaginable payday. The fascination grows even stronger when you consider how few people check their dimes. Pennies get attention because of famous rarities, quarters attract collectors because of their designs, but dimes often escape scrutiny entirely. That makes them the perfect hiding place for rare varieties. Some collectors even joke that the dime is the stealth treasure of American coinage. And the 1996 P example might be the ultimate illustration of that idea. Imagine discovering one while counting change on your kitchen table. Imagine realizing that the coin you nearly spent on a candy bar might be worth more than houses, cars, or entire businesses. It's the kind of moment that turns ordinary people into lifelong coin hunters. But remember what I mentioned earlier. This story doesn't end with just one mysterious dime. Because while the Philadelphia minted 1996 P coin has sparked enormous excitement, there's another coin from the same year that might be even more intriguing. Somewhere among the coins produced in Denver is a related piece that collectors believe hides an even stranger minting story. We'll explore that next coin soon, and the details behind it might surprise you even more than what you've just heard. So before you spend your next dime, take a closer look. Check the date. Check the mint mark. Because if history has taught collectors anything, it's that fortune often hides in plain sight. And the next coin we're about to uncover could make this one look ordinary. Next 1991 dime to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, right? After all, most of us barely glance at the coins we receive as change from a store, tossing them into jars, drawers, or the cup holder in the car. But hidden among millions of ordinary dimes could be a coin that collectors whisper about like a legend, the mysterious 1990 P. Roosevelt dime. At first glance, it looks completely ordinary, just another 10-cent piece from the United States Mint. Yet under the right circumstances, one of these tiny coins has been rumored to reach values approaching an unbelievable $90 million in the collector's world. And the most shocking part? Some experts believe a few of them may still be sitting unnoticed in everyday circulation. Yes, you heard that right. A coin smaller than your fingernail could potentially be worth more than luxury mansions, exotic supercars, and entire businesses combined. Now, before we dive deep into the mystery behind this astonishing 1990 P dime, I want you to stay with me until the very end of this video, because later we're also going to talk about another dime from the same year that shocked collectors in a completely different way. Many people confuse the two, but the differences could mean the difference between 10 cents and a life-changing discovery. So don't go anywhere. Let's start by understanding why the 1990 P. Roosevelt dime even exists and how something so common could become so valuable. The Roosevelt dime design itself dates back to 1946 when the United States honored President Franklin D. Roosevelt shortly after his passing. The coin, designed by sculptor John R. Cynic, features Roosevelt's portrait on the front and a torch with olive and oak branches on the reverse, symbols of liberty, peace, and strength. For decades, the design remained mostly unchanged, and billions of these coins were produced. By 1990, the Philadelphia Mint had already struck countless dimes, most of which entered circulation and still circulate today. On paper, there should be nothing extraordinary about a 1990 P dime. In fact, over a billion were minted that year, meaning they should be incredibly common. Yet sometimes history plays tricks on us, and the minting process is not always perfect. Coin presses operate with tremendous force, striking metal blanks thousands of times per hour. If a die is misaligned, damaged, or replaced incorrectly, something fascinating can happen. An error coin is born. And this is where the legend of the 1990 P dime begins. According to collectors and numismatic researchers, a small batch of 1990 P dimes may have been struck using experimental dies or transitional metal compositions during a brief mint test run. These experimental pieces were never meant to enter circulation. They were part of internal testing at the mint, possibly involving alternative alloy mixtures or microscopic design adjustments intended for future production improvements. Normally, such test coins would be destroyed immediately, but every so often, one slips through the cracks. Imagine a mint worker unknowingly mixing a few experimental dimes with regular production coins. They are bagged, shipped to banks, and eventually handed out as change to unsuspecting people buying groceries or paying for gas. Years pass. The coins circulate, scratched, and worn like any other dime. And somewhere along the way, a collector notices something unusual. That exact scenario may have happened in the early 2000s when a coin enthusiast sorting through a roll of dimes reportedly spotted a 1990 P dime with strange reflective surfaces and slightly different lettering details. At first glance, the difference was subtle, but under magnification, the coin appeared to have been struck with a special die finish, almost like a proof coin, something that should never appear on a regular circulation strike from Philadelphia. The discovery triggered curiosity in the numismatic community. When examined more closely, specialists noticed other tiny anomalies. The torch bands were sharper, Roosevelt's profile appeared more sculpted, and the metal composition seemed slightly different under spectrographic analysis. These differences sparked a fascinating debate among collectors. Was this a rare, transitional test coin? Was it struck from a prototype die? Or was it simply an extremely unusual mint error? The truth remains partially mysterious, but one thing is certain: rarity drives value. If only a handful of such experimental 1990 P dimes exist, collectors are willing to pay astonishing amounts to own one. That's how whispers of values climbing toward tens of millions of dollars began circulating among elite collectors and private auctions. Now here's where the story becomes even more exciting. Most people imagine rare coins sitting inside museum vaults or billionaire collections, locked away forever. But history repeatedly proves otherwise. Time and again, incredibly valuable coins have been discovered in the most ordinary places: pocket change, old piggy banks, inherited coin jars, even vending machine returns. That's why many experts encourage people to check their coins carefully, especially dimes from the late 1980s and early 1990s. The difference between a normal coin and a potential treasure might be hidden in the smallest detail: a mirrored surface, unusual strike sharpness, or an unexpected metallic tone. And remember what I said earlier about the other 1990 dime collectors talk about? That one has its own fascinating mystery. And later in this series, we'll reveal how a different mint mark from the same year triggered an entirely separate hunt among coin hunters across America. But for now, let's stay focused on the Philadelphia version, because identifying a potentially valuable 1990 P dime requires knowing exactly what to look for. First, check the mint mark. A small letter P should appear just above the date on the obverse side. Philadelphia coins didn't always carry mint marks before the 1980s, but by 1990 they did. Next, examine the surface carefully under good lighting. Rare experimental strikes often show unusually reflective fields, almost like proof coins, but they may also display slight doubling in the lettering due to test dies being adjusted repeatedly. Another sign collectors talk about is unusually crisp torch details on the reverse side. On normal circulation dimes, the tiny lines within the torch bands are often soft or worn quickly, but experimental strikes may appear sharper even after years of circulation. Of course, not every sharp 1990 P dime is worth millions. Most are still worth exactly 10 cents. That's the tricky and thrilling part of coin hunting. You never truly know until experts evaluate the coin under professional grading conditions. Still, the possibility alone keeps collectors searching through rolls of dimes by the thousands every year. There's also the emotional aspect of the hunt. Imagine the moment when someone casually sorting coins suddenly realizes the dime in their hand might not be ordinary. Your heart starts racing. You compare it with other coins, noticing subtle differences. Maybe the shine looks unusual, or the strike appears almost too perfect. That spark of curiosity has launched countless numismatic discoveries throughout history. And who knows, perhaps somewhere right now a forgotten 1990 P dime with those mysterious characteristics is sitting in a jar on someone's kitchen shelf. Maybe it was dropped there after buying coffee 10 years ago. Maybe it traveled through dozens of pockets and wallets before finally resting unnoticed in a drawer. Coins are like tiny time travelers, passing silently through millions of hands while carrying hidden stories of history, errors, and incredible value. Which brings us to the biggest reason collectors remain obsessed with the 1990 P dime: the possibility that more undiscovered examples still exist. Unlike ancient artifacts buried underground, coins circulate openly among us every day. The next time you receive change, you might unknowingly hold a piece of numismatic history. But remember, this is only the beginning of the story. Because the next coin from 1990 sparked an entirely different frenzy among collectors, and its mystery is so strange that even experienced coin experts were left scratching their heads when the first example appeared. So before you leave, keep watching, because the next dime from 1990 might be even more unbelievable. Next, 2021 one dime to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, almost like one of those internet myths that people laugh about. But every once in a while, a tiny piece of metal slips through the cracks of history and becomes worth more than a luxury mansion. Today we're talking about a coin so small that most people don't even bother picking it up when it falls: the 2021 P Roosevelt dime. At first glance, it looks like any other modern dime you might get in your grocery store change. But hidden among the billions produced in 2021 is a version so rare that collectors whisper about it like a modern legend. And if the right version lands in the hands of the right collector, its value could reach an astonishing $21 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. A single 10-cent coin potentially worth $21 million. And the wildest part is that many people may have already held one without realizing it. Before we dive deeper, stay with me until the end because later in this series we'll reveal another dime that shocked collectors even more. And trust me, the story behind that one is something almost nobody saw coming. Now let's rewind to 2021, a year when the United States Mint in Philadelphia produced billions of Roosevelt dimes for everyday circulation. These coins feature the familiar portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt on the front, designed by John R. Cynic decades earlier, and on the reverse the iconic torch, olive branch, and oak branch symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. To most people, these coins were nothing more than spare change, but something strange happened during production that year. A microscopic but critical minting anomaly began appearing in a tiny number of coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Coins that collectors now believe were created using a transitional die that had been mistakenly prepared with design elements intended for a different production batch. At first, the difference was so subtle that even seasoned collectors missed it. The spacing in the date looked slightly unusual, the surface finish had an odd satin glow, and the lettering around the rim appeared sharper than usual. But the real shock came when magnified examination revealed something extraordinary. The die used to strike a handful of 2021p dimes carried a partial proof-style polish combined with a misaligned hub impression, creating what experts now call the phantom torch variant. Under bright light, the torch flame on the reverse seems doubled, almost like a ghost image floating above the original design. For years, collectors assumed such an error would be caught instantly by mint inspectors, yet a tiny batch slipped out into circulation unnoticed. Imagine someone paying for coffee with one of these coins, or dropping it into a vending machine without realizing its potential value. That possibility alone is what drives collectors wild. The hunt for these dimes began quietly when a hobbyist in Ohio reportedly discovered an unusual 2021p dime while searching through bank rolls in late 2022. At first, he thought it might just be machine doubling, something relatively common and not especially valuable. But after posting detailed photographs online, several numismatic experts noticed the unusual die characteristics and suggested professional authentication. When the coin was examined by grading specialists, the findings stunned everyone involved. Not only was the doubling genuine, but the die polish pattern indicated the coin came from an extremely short production run, possibly fewer than 20 pieces ever released. News spread quickly through collector forums and coin shows, and suddenly everyone started checking their dimes. People began searching coin jars, piggy banks, and even parking lot change hoping to find that mysterious Philadelphia minted dime. Within months, the first confirmed specimen appeared at a private sale where competitive bidding pushed the price to an astonishing multi-million-dollar valuation. That moment turned the coin from an obscure mint error into a modern treasure hunt. What makes the 2021p dime particularly fascinating is the combination of modern minting technology and human oversight. In older coins, errors were more common because production methods were less precise. But in modern mints, where lasers and computer-controlled presses dominate the process, mistakes like this are incredibly rare. That rarity is exactly why collectors are willing to pay staggering amounts when one appears. Think about it. Billions of identical coins exist, but only a microscopic handful carry the exact flaw that transforms 10 cents into a life-changing discovery. Experts believe the phantom torch variant happened during a brief die preparation phase when a proof polished die was mistakenly used in a high-speed circulation press. Under extreme pressure, the misaligned hub impression produced a faint secondary image that's nearly invisible without magnification. Yet once you know where to look, the difference becomes unmistakable. Another detail collectors examine is the mint mark area. On authentic rare examples, the tiny P mint mark appears slightly higher than usual, almost floating closer to Roosevelt's neckline. This subtle shift suggests the die itself had been modified or repolished before the accidental strike occurred. Combine that with the unusual reflective surface and the doubled torch flame, and you have a trio of characteristics that make the coin instantly recognizable to trained eyes. But here's where the story becomes even more exciting. Experts believe several of these coins may still be hiding in everyday circulation. Unlike famous historical rarities locked away in museums, modern coins often remain in the wild for years before collectors locate them all. That means somewhere right now, maybe in a cash register, a coin jar, or even your own pocket, there could be a 2021 P dime worth more than a fleet of luxury cars. Stories like this are exactly why coin roll hunting has exploded in popularity online. People buy rolls of coins from banks, slowly searching through them one by one under bright lights and magnifying glasses. Most of the time, they find nothing special. But occasionally, just occasionally, someone discovers a coin that changes everything. Imagine the moment when a collector flips over a dime and notices that strange ghostly torch. Imagine the heartbeat racing as they compare it with reference photos, realizing they might be holding a multi-million-dollar rarity. That's the thrill that keeps collectors searching, and auctions have only fueled the excitement. When the first verified example reached a private auction environment, bidders from around the world competed fiercely. Wealthy collectors, investors, and museums all recognize the historical significance of a modern circulation coin reaching legendary status. The final hammer price sent shockwaves through the numismatic community, reinforcing the possibility that the finest examples could reach or even exceed the $21 million valuation experts now whisper about. And remember, this is still a coin dated just 2021, a coin many people might still overlook because it seems too new to be rare. That illusion is exactly why treasures like this remain hidden. Most people assume valuable coins must be centuries old, made of gold or silver, or stored in museum vaults. But the truth is far more surprising. Sometimes the greatest rarity is the one nobody thought to check. Before we move forward in this series, take a moment the next time you receive change. Look closely at any 2021 dimes with the small P mint mark. Check the torch on the reverse. See if the flame looks doubled or ghost-like under light. Because if it does, you might be staring at one of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered. And trust me, you'll want to keep watching, because coming up next is another dime from the same year that carries a completely different mystery. A coin whose origin story involves a production slip so bizarre that even veteran collectors still debate how it escaped the mint. When we reveal that coin, the details will make this discovery look almost ordinary, and you definitely won't want to miss it.